about a good friend of mine, Mr. Gentle Jones, who recently did a track with Joe for his new album called Homemade Music. And if you don't know Gentle Jones, you should definitely Google him, because he is a very eclectic musician who brings a lot of quirkiness and fun and authentic, whatever genre he's choosing to channel, it just comes off as completely authentic, whether it's rap, country, blues, ska, punk. He's a Renaissance man. He's a man of many hats, literally and figuratively. So I sat down with my man Gentle Jones for a lengthy interview and conversation, so I hope you enjoy it. Here's my interview with Gentle Jones. And we're live. Bill Farrell, a.k.a. Gentle Jones, give me a pound. You got your camera going, right?
Yes, sir.
You got your recorder going.
Mm-hmm.
Got my recorder going. And we're worldwide.
Come on, boys, let's go to hunting. Come on, boys, let's go to hunting. Dog in the woods and he done treat something. Dog in the woods and he done treat something. Your dog barks, he ain't seen nothing. Your dog barks, he ain't seen nothing. When my dog barks, he done treat something. Come on, boys, let's go to hunting. Dog in the woods and he done treat something.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gentle Jones. What better way to get the podcast started, get the juices flowing a little bit. And for those of you who can't see, you'll probably see on some video later, he even wore his cowboy hat that you see on the cover of his new album, Homemade Music, which I'm a big fan of.
Thank you.
And so I wanted to start with that, and then maybe work our way back a little bit, because
yes,
I want to get into some of the deeper. I did a deep dive on you. I looked up some things, and so. I got a couple things in my arsenal I want to fire at you, but first, let's start with Homemade Music, man. It's an amalgamation of all different sides of your country side, your rapping side, a little bit of your rocking side. Like, it's a little bit of everything that you do, and I think 2019 is the perfect year for something like that. So what brought the idea? What was the idea behind this whole record?
Well, pretty much this is my 15th album, by the way. So my 15th album, and I've been making them at home. And ever since the beginning, when I had an opportunity, I would try to make, rock and roll song, heavy music. I have a broad taste in genres. American pop music has got a similar format across what everyone's broken down into genres. But in my opinion, folk music, old-time country music, rhythm and blues, jazz, pop music, it's all really coming from the same root. Right. And it all speaks to me. I love songwriting. Yep. I love singing, and just love records and music in general. So it's something I've always tried to strive for, but I think this time I've gotten further than I ever have. Yeah, I would say so. And I think you're just unapologetic about it, where in the past it was, and I think that's another reason why we get along so well, is because I'm the same way. I had the Grady Lakeshore rap thing going on. Let me put this on airplane mode so nobody interrupts me. But I did the Grady Lakeshore rap album with Omar and Relly and everything like that. And you were around when I was doing that. Yes, sir. And I was in my rock band 61 North, and now I have this thing where we're doing more country, blues, and we even do funk and reggae and stuff in that band. Hell yeah! Because I just why Ray Charles? They told him he wouldn't be successful as a country singer, and boy were they wrong. His country record is a whopper. People love it, right? And I also feel like nowadays. The music audience is not just more diverse than ever, but people are more open to anything. If you go to State Fair in Delaware, you'll see them having like a dance, and they'll be playing country records, and they'll be playing Juvenile, and they'll be playing everything, and everybody will be dancing the whole time.
Yeah, they can be cutting a country record and then drop into Juicy.
Yeah,
and who ain't gonna dance to Juicy?
Everybody's gonna dance.
Everybody's gonna dance, right? It's all about that beat,
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool because I think that now is the time to really push that, and as much as we can is don't get pigeonholed. Don't feel like you have to do one thing and continue to push the envelope, as they say.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you've done that your whole career. I mean, as far as I can tell, I've seen, like I said, I've seen you singing. I gotta say, the first video I saw, which just hooked me in, I'm Back.
Oh, shit.
I mean, that video, man, is it's so fire. It's so raw because you're actually spitting live in the shot. You know what I mean? In your house, and then the beat's just playing behind you.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just got this raw feel, but it sounds clean. It almost sounds like it could be like it is the record, and of course the green shirt and the lid that helps, But that's like a different persona, Like in that video, you're a totally different person than you are in the country video. And,
oh shit!
Well, you're the same person, but you know what I mean. It's like you're channeling a different character sometimes. So how do you balance almost like the character that is in some of the themes of your music and the authenticity, because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of character in your songs,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a storyteller at the end of the day. I think that's what I would say about you is you tell stories.
Thank you.
And so how do you tap into that different character and tapestry for like what story you're going to tell?
Well, I feel like in some ways it's natural to everybody, even people that don't write. We've got the person we are around our family, and we got the dude we are at work.
That's true.
Professional.
That's true.
One.
We wear many masks.
The sweary person around our homies, So it's like it's almost like a filter. Like, I just want to go down this road for a little bit. And when it comes to writing, because my process is pretty wide open and organic. If I get an idea like, this song is about being abducted by aliens, or this song is about my hair is perfect. It's just like you just try to nail that role. I guess it's not like being an actor though, because it's me. But it's like sometimes when you're around your friends' parents, you're super polite, and then sometimes you're showing your ass. And
that's a great way to put it, because that's what it feels like. You know what I mean? Almost, and I think you do it really well.
Thank you.
I think you do it really well. So, so you said this is your 15th album.
I believe this is my 15th solo album.
And when did you start? So what was bring me back to the start of Gentle Jones, because we'll get into your skateboarding as well, because you're heavy in the skateboard scene too. We won't go there just yet, but let's talk about early Gentle Jones stuff, like music wise. That was a lot of rap, ska. I saw some ska, some rock band stuff.
A punk band, the Barons, a ska band, the Bullbuckers. I was in bands in high school that never recorded, that actually never played outside the house.
They're the best kind, right? Where you cutting your teeth.
Yeah, but even way before that, when I was like 7, 8 years old, I had a Casio tape player, and I would record the television, I would record Solid Gold, but then also I would make my own little tapes, like little Avenger tapes and sing and stuff. And I had a little Casio keyboard. It was like the 2-foot type.
Yeah, I remember.
And so I really enjoyed doing that. And then as I got to junior high and stuff, I had my other friends who were like, we want to start a band, but none of them played no fucking instruments or nothing like that. It was just a bunch of kids. So we would turn on our dual cassette players and try to sample ourselves back and forth and just make horrible garbage. But when I was...
You're still learning though.
You learn all the time.
Still learning.
You learn all the time. I'm still learning right now. But when I guess I really made the leap, I had been recording with some of my friends in the early 90s. A friend of mine had a 4-track, and then I got enough money together to get myself a 2-track. It was a Tascam Porta 3. It was like a little battery John took, like C batteries.
Okay.
And it recorded 2 tracks, but it was really a 4-track because you could switch the tracks that it was on, but it could only record 2 at a time.
Gotcha.
So you turn on track 1 or 2.
2 tracks.
Yeah, track 3 and 4. And then I started actually recording my own songs. At first, it was I would get like a single instrumental, and the 2 tracks would have like the instrumental, and then the other 2 tracks I would put my vocals.
Really?
So, like there's some old
that is interesting.
Early '90s recordings I have, which no one will probably never hear of me, like in my bedroom, like keeping quiet so no one can hear me recording.
Well, I hope we get to hear that one day. Hope we put that on the back end of an album or something like that.
But by the mid to late '90s, I started kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, and knew enough dudes that played music that I had a band called Regular Size Monster at that time, and so we would make crazy tapes. We would just bust out the 4-track and get lit and just brainstorm and have fun. Some of those tapes I'll show off. Some of them are super hilarious. And
That's
someone
cool.
came a guy playing harmonica on them.
Yeah, people like that stuff too. Like there's an old. You ever listen to Chester and Lester? It's a Chet Atkins and Les Paul record.
As a matter of fact, I have that record. I was just going through my records today, and that's actually a whopper. I have a bunch of Chet Atkins records.
That's a good record.
Chet Atkins is one of them dudes. Like you can play any of his records around anybody, and they will have a fun time.
Yeah,
it's a universal beauty of music.
It is, man, and his picking was just like gives you chills. And what I was going to get to was the thing that was really cool about that Chester and Lester record was, they had gotten together they were going to do an album together, and that record is the recording of them rehearsing for the record.
You actually, on the album I have, you actually hear them talking about it.
They're cutting up and laughing.
Each other's balls.
Yep.
And that's late in both of their careers, too, so they're very seasoned.
And that's what people love about it. Like my grandpa's 88, and that's what he loves about the record is that you can hear them cutting up. So if you really think about it, like even back then, there was something tangible to that, like rawness, like what we're doing right now, just like how the whole podcast scene and YouTube videos and things like that, and even Instagram and stuff. People like to see the behind the scenes stuff. I think nowadays,
just
and
the naturalness of being a person.
Yep, and it makes it more relatable. So,
well, that's the other thing. So that around the time I was in Regular Size Monster was when I started to kind of craft Gentle Jones, because I was like, well, early on, I wanted to be in a crew. I wanted to be like in the Wu-Tang Clan, or Hieroglyphics or something. Let's have like 6 amazing MCs, and I'll be the weird MC or the space MC or what. But that didn't happen.
Right.
And but I had a band. But every single show we played, we were improvising, and it would be like whoever my friends I could convince to come. So it might be. The drummer might show up like just when the show's about, I'll have a heart attack just waiting, like who's showing up. We got the guitar player, we got a bass player, we got a keyboard guy, we got a hand drum guy, who's playing the drum kit. Someone might show up with a Chapman stick or a didgeridoo, but it was always different, and always we were just like by the seat of our fucking pants. But I had songs I had been writing, and so Gentle Jones was basically like me saying, like, no matter what I'm doing, I need to like put down what it is that I want to create, my body of work. And at the same time, the internet started being not just accessible, but fast enough to where you could listen to media. Like when I first got on the internet, it was like Real Audio was like a type of file format where they were like real shitty, like an AM station that's like 500 miles away that you could barely get, and that would take like 10 minutes to download a song, and you could hear that stuff. Downloading the album, like you like
early
put the download
days.
and you go to bed and you get up.
Exactly.
And then you have an album. YouTube didn't even exist. There was a site called mp3.com, which at the time was like kind of like what MySpace became, where you could put your own music up. And I made a little page, and I actually started getting tens of thousands of listens.
Is that the one that Dave Usickinen was working with?
Yeah, so Dave managed the pop section of mp3.com. The hip-hop section was managed by one of my OGs and mentors, who's Paradise from X-Clan.
Okay.
Paradise the Architect. He really turned me on to a bunch of stuff. Like, he kind of helped me realize that, like, what I had been recording and just putting, like, in a shoebox under my bed,
right,
was like, people would check that stuff out.
Yeah.
And he put me on his radio show, which had me, like, on, like, 36 radio stations, including like Canada down to Louisiana and Mississippi.
And that's the amazing thing about the internet, is you literally worldwide.
It blew my mind. It blew my mind, because I'm from, I'm in Price's Corner in Delaware, where, like, what I was trying to do was not like a hot commodity by any stretch of the imagination.
Now, did you grow up in Delaware, or did you move to Delaware?
So I did grow up in Delaware. My family, my mother and father, met in Delaware, but I was born in Georgia, in Muskogee County, on the side of the Chattahoochee River. Yeah, other side of the Chattahoochee River was Kentucky. So that's where I was born. My family is from West Virginia, but my father, when he was a teenager, they moved to Newark, Delaware.
Same as my dad and his side of the family from West Virginia. So
wow,
we're in good company. Where the hillbillies are.
Well, I'll tell you what. So my family in West Virginia, my grandmother's father worked in the coal mine, and then there was an accident, and he lost his leg, and he couldn't do that work anymore. So he actually became a moonshiner. He was cooking moonshine, and so that's the household my grandma grew up in. Then my father lived in a house that my grandfather built that had no electric, no running water, a little brown shack out back where you go do your business, the outhouse.
That's crazy.
And so until they moved to Delaware, they were really like subsistence farmers, like living in the hills.
Yeah, that's very.
Didn't owe nobody no money, and nobody came looking for them, never. But that way of life is over.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because it sounds terrible, but while they were living it probably they were having times at the time of their life. They didn't know any better.
My grandma and grandpa Farrell are the sweetest, warmest, wisest people, and they were really living a good life.
Yeah,
and it's a community out there. That was out Lenore, West Virginia. Basically, is like walking distance from Kentucky. It's West Virginia, and they were very decent, wonderful people, and it was a style of living that had been going on for decades or centuries. That is basically, it's not possible now. You can't be a homesteader and just go build a house and live in it.
It's sad. I think about it all the time. Like most of my biggest heroes, or just people that I really admire, are from back in like the '60s and stuff like that. The beatniks. That I was just watching a documentary about the guys that were out climbing in Yosemite. Are some of the first climbers to climb some of those big structures out there and stuff like that. And they just lived out there and lived off the land and wrote in journals, read books, and talked and smoked weed and had great conversations and drank, and then just the
never
hippies
punch
and
a
stuff.
clock, never answer to nobody. Just live a life.
Right, just live a life and dedicate yourself to an art. Their art was climbing. And I think about that a lot, because I've been hit with a couple challenges, obviously my paralysis and cancer and things like that. So it just makes me more laser focused than ever that I got a short amount of time to create this art and leave this legacy behind. So do you ever think about it in those terms? Because I think about it like that a lot. That in my mind, I just hope that someday, maybe 30 years from now, some kid discovers one of my songs and goes, "Oh, this is so sick! Hey, man, we got to cover this in our band." You know what I mean? And it lives on that way. So that's what really keeps me pushing forward and creating art and making people feel good and things like that. I was just wondering if you ever think about things like that, like
all the time. I mean, I've always been in the moment. Like every day is a potential for all the beauty that life has to offer. But also, when I first was recording, I was just trying to make things that were like the music I wanted to hear that people weren't making.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Your music is so distinct and it's so you, and when I first saw you, I couldn't take my eyes off you in your performance. It was just like, wow, what am I seeing? I mean, crop circles, and you just stood there in the b-boy stands, and I was like, what am I seeing right now? This guy is selling something. You know what I mean? He's doing something. This is deliberate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was very deliberate, and I respected it.
Well, like I said in the MP3.com era, I just getting on the internet and just starting to see that there might be an audience beyond what I thought. Was just me trying to crack up my friends.
Right.
And then at the same time, PayPal came into existence, and at that time you could go to PayPal and log in, and you could put like how much your album was and what the title of it was, and it would give you like a HTML link.
Really?
That you could paste, and if someone clicked on it, it would charge them. Like $7 or $8. So I started selling CDRs that I was making in my house, like printing out the covers of my printer and cutting them out with scissors. And so I started selling CDs in clumps in places that, like in Minnesota, like there was a bunch of people on an Indian reservation that were buying my albums, and I was like, who are these people? I started selling more albums in Germany than I would in Delaware, like trying to
hustle.
Face to face
shows. Yeah,
people. I would sell stuff overseas in England and Ireland, and it was a super eye opener. It was a super eye opener because what I'm doing is like, I haven't been trying for like top 40 stuff. I've been doing stuff that like I figure was probably sounded weird compared to everything else. I didn't expect to have a profit motive, which I really don't. But I started selling like as many CDs as I could make.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm gonna just keep doing this for as long as it lasts. And here we are. It's literally 2 decades later. And I'm still recording. I still got shows. I'm still performing. I'm still learning, and I'm still blown away.
Well, I think this new album is definitely a step. It's just like another step. You know what I mean? I feel like the sound is really. It's like it's you, but it's also something new and something. You just keep getting it. You just keep honing your sound, and whether it's like I said, my 2 favorite tracks would be the one you did with Joe, which is that an Earl Scruggs cover?
That's actually it's Tom T. Hall, one of my favorite writers. The engineers don't wave from the trains anymore.
Yeah. And Tom T. Hall was a great writer, wasn't he, man?
Fucking phenomenal.
One
of my favorites.
Beer. I like beer. Is one of his songs.
Yeah, who's gonna feed them hogs?
My grandpa really loves Tom T. Hall because he's just such a great storyteller.
The funny thing is that like Tom T. Hall, like grew up as an artist in the Nashville scene, being a country writer, writing songs that became hits, but at the same time couldn't really find a footing as himself singing his own songs. He had songs that he had written that he was like, these are only for me to sing. And he almost wasn't accepted by the country industry as country, even though he was as country as a cow on a fucking pile of manure. I mean, he was straight from the farm.
Yeah.
And a brilliant, wonderful writer, but he was almost like so intellectual. I think people weren't getting what he was doing but then of course he found his lane and he recorded. Man, I probably got 15 Tom T. Hall records at home.
I mean,
They're all whoppers. He got a body of work.
He and I can see his influence on you a little bit because he is. Country music, a lot of people say is, it tells stories and that's something great. A lot of storytelling. Yeah. But Tom T. Hall is like, it's like to another level with the story
like
with him. It's like he's really telling a story, and so maybe that's why, some of his songs, I think they stand the test of time because they tell those stories, and
they do.
It just endears them to you.
He wasn't the type to talk down to the audience. Like he would say, "This is the idea, and y'all can come with me, or y'all can wait over here and come back later when you figure it out." And I'm a huge fan of Tom T. Hall as a writer. Chet Atkins as an instrumentalist, I'm a huge fan of him. Bill Monroe, I'm an enormous fan of his body of work. Freddie Hart. There are just so many, not just great singers, but there are songwriters behind a curtain that really could lay down a story that would just knock you down.
So have these influences been with you your whole life? You've been in the country, blues, rap, everything?
So like I said, the Farrell family is from West Virginia.
Okay.
My granddad, him and his brothers were the band of square dances. So he played the banjo, played the fiddle, played piano, played guitar. My grandma played guitar. My grandfather, out of his three brothers, was the one who actually called the square dances. So there was, and also, back at that time, in the 1900s, you would hear country music on the radio.
So that's stuff. So in a way, now that you bring that up, that's like MCing pretty much.
Yeah.
Now grab your girl by the hand and dump them down the side of the hand.
Yeah, controlling the ceremony.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I used to sing in church when I was young. My grandparents, my granddad, we'd go to church and sit right next to him and we sing along. He had a beautiful baritone voice, I remember. So I grew up in a musical family, but then at the same time, we're going into the late 70s to the 80s where television and the radio is becoming less geographic. Back in the 60s, like you have a band in Ohio and y'all got a hit record in your town and nobody in the rest of the fucking country ever heard it.
Right.
40 years later, I find your record and like, how come this wasn't a hit? I
feel you.
But then we got like Solid Gold and the Casey Kasem Countdown, and the MTV and Night Flight, and you could just be exposed just by having cable television to sounds that wasn't even on the radio.
Right.
And that was around the time I started understanding like there's an underground. There's music that exists that people love that you're never going to hear on the radio.
And it's a great place to be.
It's the best fucking music.
It's some of the best stuff, and you can do whatever you want, and you can be as weird as you want, and you can be you can do anything you want. So I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they listen to Homemade Music by Gentle Jones. That's Homemade Music by Gentle Jones. And where can they find that record?
You can go to my Bandcamp. If you just Google Gentle Jones, you probably find my Facebook or my YouTube or something. And if you just give me a hoot, bam, I'm on the internet right now.
Find him. Just search Gentle Jones. Google Gentle Jones. That's probably the best way. Just Google Gentle Jones and start clicking around and firing messages and
come see me. Come and say hi, because I'll say hi back.
Because he does. Sure will. He does. He'll like all your comments. So I wanted to get into a little bit of the skateboarding side of your persona, because you are a presence. You are a dare I say a legend in the skateboard community. You're very influential and like early on you developed a style, and I have one of your boards over there. I've got the Van Halen board. I don't know what the actual name of that board is.
The Gentle Jones.
Okay, so it would just be the Gentle Jones. Okay, but when I saw that, I had to get it. I got to get it hung up in here.
It's very rare.
Yeah,
it's very rare.
I know. I saw that there was only a few prints of them, and when I saw that it had the Van Halen sign on it, and the bear is a lion, I think, not a bear. It's a lion. It's a lion. Three-eyed lion. I was like, dude, that's so sick. So I want to hang that up to give some ambiance in the studio. But so talk to me a little bit about that. What got you into skateboarding and how that developed?
I started skating in 1979. My mama got me a skateboard for Christmas. I lived in Jacksonville, Florida. After my parents split, I spent some time moving around the country a little bit. And so in Jacksonville, my mama went to Kona Skate Park, which is the oldest concrete skate park in America. It's still there. I still go in the summertime. It's awesome. But she got me a Gordon & Smith, a Stacy Peralta Warptail, which was like a solid piece of oak, not like that.
Right.
It's like 7 plies.
Right,
it was like almost an inch thick solid piece of wood, just like sanded on the sides. But I loved it.
Say if it's oak though, you probably couldn't break it, right?
Well, nah, I still got it. It ain't broke. This thing ain't got a chip on it. It's
That's
like a fucking Millennium Falcon. But there's something like I took to when I was little, and then over the years, like I kept doing it, and then it would come like in and out of fashion where it would be like other kids in my neighborhood would be skating. I would just go play, like, oh, let's just go skate together and stuff. So it ended up being like a way that I could meet people, and also I love actually skating. And then toward the late 80s, I started getting a little notoriety in the area, and I got sponsored by Toxic Wheels out of Ocean City, Maryland. Soul Trip is a board company that was out of Florida, which was Chuck Dinkins from Walker, and Tracker started flowing me trucks, and I just started, trying to get into the business, I guess, side of it. And so in '95, I went out to California and started skating in contests, and went through that season. I got third in the championship that year, and then the next '96, I skated all the contests, and I won several and placed in every single. I got a whole lot of trophies from all those contests. At the end of the year,
I've seen the trophies.
At the end of the year,
trophy room is legit.
Yeah, I'm quite proud of it.
Yeah, you've got some good trophies.
But I got first place for the entire year in 1996.
Wow!
For that whole season, and at the same time, I was on the ramp crew. I had kind of worked my way in with Dave Duncan and Tim Payne, and so I was building vert ramps for Van's Triple Crown contest at the Hard Rock Cafe, building half pipes on mountains for snowboard, skateboard demos and stuff. And I felt like I was living the life. I had a really great time, but I'll tell you what, 1996, my tax return, I only made like $8,000, which is like super below poverty.
Right. Well,
sometimes I'll sleep in my car.
I mean, sometimes it's just like music. It's like especially with skating, there's such a brotherhood that comes along with skateboarding and the community and everything like that. I used to do, like, back when aggressive inline skating was popular. Me and my boys we'd go out and just have a session, and like having a session with your boys is it's like having band practice or something. There's just nothing like it,
Well, here I am,
like that.
I'm 45 years old. I still skate. I still have friends that are my age that I've been skating with for years. We still go out when it's nice, when it's above 60 degrees.
Yeah, right.
We go out, but
weather permitting.
But after I came back from California, I still try to be a part, and so I've been for Dead End, which was my sponsor after Soul Trip. I've been actually designing and getting manufactured the decks for several years now, all Dead End stuff.
Okay.
And I'm very proud of the quality of the boards, and I'm skating them, and it's rad to stoke out young people. Like, you see somebody at a park that had their board like a little too long, like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
And you get thrilled.
So where can people check the boards out at?
Well, if you holler at General Jones,
just holler at you.
But you go to deadendskates.com, you'll see what I'm up to. I'm working on a couple new right now.
Okay.
But I was never Tony Hawk or Bam. I knew Bam since he was a kid. But some of these guys are super famous. But most dudes are just out skating because they love to skate, and that's where I am. Is that it's just something I like to do. If it wasn't worth nothing, it never was worth nothing for most of my life. I just enjoy it.
Right.
But I've also had an opportunity to contribute. And
and I think you've carved your. It's just like how I was saying about legacy with music. It's for me. I just I don't need to be the whole blanket. I just want to be a little patch on the quilt of stuff. So I hope that one day they just say, man, that guy could really play, and he had some good music.
We're not spectators; we're participants.
Exactly, and I think you've done that in music and in skateboarding. Like you said, you may not be Tony Hawk, but you are a piece of that fabric now. You're a piece of that quilt that makes up the collective, and fuck it, man. Some of the greatest, some people, most of people's favorite, like people who are really hardcore into skateboarding, their favorite skateboarders are always some dude that you never made or something like that. Music too.
I'm
Same
still
thing.
finding records that they never showed up on a chart. That you can't even Google these records. And you put it on, and it'll knock your socks off.
Yeah, and you're like you said, you're like, how did this person never? How are they never on the radio?
Yeah, why are they not millionaires?
Why are they not?
That don't happen for most people. But if you make something to leave, that's the rarity itself.
Well, like I was talking about, the beatniks and some of those guys out in Yosemite back in the '60s, stuff like that. What I'm finding when I read and when I watch documentaries and learn things, a lot of my favorite people I really idolize, they didn't have a lot. They either just were okay with not having a lot, or they got ripped off. Like how many artists like Jimi Hendrix and Elvis and things like that, you know, people think of Elvis and think he's the king and that. Well, that man was rode hard and put away wet, as they say.
Oh, totally,
like
totally.
They wore his ass out.
Same thing. Jackie Wilson was in the mob's pocket, you know, throughout the best part of his career, and he died penniless.
Penniless, yeah.
Nearly forgotten at the time.
So I guess I take solace in that a little bit, knowing that, you know, the music's of music, and I'm sure Jimi Hendrix had no idea people would still be wearing him on T-shirts today and posters. You know, that would have tripped him out if you told him that. You know, like you know, 50, 60 years from now, you're going to be a god, and people are going to be buying your wah pedals and this and that with your name on it.
Well, with music, as Gentle Jones, I've been way luckier than I ever could have imagined when I started. I've toured around the country, overseas, you know, shows in Ireland, shows on Native American reservations out in the Midwest. I've actually put albums out and sold them, actually get money from YouTube, from mp3.com, stuff that didn't even really exist as like an option. When I started trying to record, like the idea was that like, not for me, but for everyone, they start recording like we're going to get a record deal from a label. We're going to lace us with money. It's going to be Learjets and ladies and popping champagnes.
Yeah.
And getting mailbox money just from putting your music on a website was not even in the equation.
Right.
Somebody from another country could just click a button and send you money. That was not even a thought.
Yeah.
You know, and it tickles me because I have found that, but it still amazes me that anybody would give a damn because I'm out here, I'm home. Yeah. I'm home. I'm putting up my microphone, plugged USB into my laptop, and I'm standing in my bathrobe. You know, any song, you just imagine when you're listening to my record, me in my bathrobe and my slippers, just, you know, standing shouting at my kitchen table.
And if you don't believe him, go to his Instagram. It's true, because you can see videos of him at the kitchen table.
I'm home.
Yeah, you're home. Yeah, I mean, hey, I do the same thing. Like there's
no better way.
There's a couple tracks on my new album. There's a couple tracks on my first album that I recorded right here in my bedroom.
I wouldn't want a record deal. I don't want to put on pants and go record somewhere. I'm gonna be home. Shit.
Although I do like going to Uncle Joe's garage.
Joe got it going on. And record labels, if you're listening, I wouldn't mind someone sending some checks. But I'm very comfortable. Like I enjoy what I'm doing, or I wouldn't have been doing it for 20 years.
And it's not like
if I hated it and it was making my back hurt, I'd have been gave up. Yeah, I like it. I can't stop.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I can't stop. The songs just keep coming in my head. And even though sometimes it gets hard, you know, sometimes trying to, you know, book everybody or like get musicians together or whatever it is, whatever the obstacle is, it never seems to. I never seem to stop. But I also feel like there's this thing where we constantly are always chasing the next thing or chasing the next idea.
Of course.
And so maybe that keeps us going.
It totally does.
Keeps the blood flowing.
It absolutely does. It's the carrot at the end of the stick.
So let me one more question before we get out of here. If you had to, I want to know what Gentle Jones would tell a young musician these days who's looking to get into the business or something like that. What's some advice you could give a young guy who's starting out?
The first thing I would say is don't try to get into the business, because there isn't one there. You know, it's like a lotto ticket. Like some people get super lucky, and if you're beautiful and you got great tits, maybe you can go far. But if not, don't get into the business. Get into records. Get into songs. Get into, like, find out what it is that you like, the story you want to tell, and you can do it. And like you said, trying to get dudes together to record is a hassle, but you don't need that. You can turn on your phone and sing, and that's your YouTube channel. Yeah. You know, I've seen a whole bunch of YouTube channels that just like a girl in a tank top with acoustic guitar just singing every song she likes, and it'd be hundreds of thousands of views. Some girl with a ukulele doing covers. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's like, it doesn't matter if you think anyone is supporting you or not. If you got a vision, then make it as well as you can. And if it's not up to snuff, then do it again. And do it again and make it a little better, but don't be shamed of the learning process and keep a copy of every fucking thing and don't sign nothing to nobody, because you never know. You may have a body of work, and one day, and it happened to me, one day 100,000 people will check it out, and you can't pick it. I had a song called The Cleaners I made in the 90s when I was super broke. I couldn't make $200-300 a week working a full-time job. And I put out this song, The Cleaners, which was a true story about a job that I had that I fucking hated. And it took off on mp3.com, and I started getting dividend checks that were like $2,300.
That's crazy.
$1,700. It was 5 times more money than I had ever made anywhere. And it was just my thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, just opening my mouth and making something exist that didn't exist before.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't gone for it, if I hadn't thought, you know, well, this is a kooky idea maybe, but maybe someone might think it's funny.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, thousands of people are like, that's something I like.
That's badass, man. That's a great answer to that question, man. I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast, brother. We're gonna do it again.
I appreciate you.
We're gonna get into more shit, but people are just getting to know you on this podcast, so we'll have to have you come back as a reoccurring guest, because you know you got tons more stories to tell, and I got lots more questions and stuff. But we always want to leave them wanting more. So, Jones. Bones it. Thank you for being on the show, brother.
I'm mighty proud to be here with you and visit.
Take care.